What is going on, YouTube? It's your host again here with my review of the Venom movie, which came out in October, I believe. Yeah, in October, and I'm here to tell you what I think of the movie, if I think it's great, I think it's bad, and let's just get into the video. So, what did I think of the movie overall? I was kind of, I was, I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. I thought it was a good movie. I enjoyed it, and overall, it's a pretty enjoyable movie. And pretty much the critics just don't understand that it's actually a pretty good movie because they give it a not a very low score on Rotten Tomatoes, but like I believe like a 50 or 40% on Rotten Tomatoes is what they gave it, which it totally doesn't serve in my opinion, because in my opinion it deserves like an 85%. Yeah, an 85% is what I would give it. So I think it's a good movie, and that's what I think. um it's it's not a perfect movie, you know, like in the leagues of Spider-Man Homecoming and even though I didn't watch, and even though I want to watch it, but I didn't watch it lately with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which was a pretty big success. It even got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. But it's not on that league, but it's a pretty great movie. And overall, you might be thinking what the movie is about, you know. Well, the movie is about Eddie Brock aka Venom, of course, and he pretty much fights against another symbiote named Riot, which takes over Carlton Drake, which doesn't happen in the comics, but whatever, it happens in the movie, so we gotta focus on the movie instead. So the movie starts off with a shot in space with a rocket from the Life Foundation, you know, just floating in space, with loaded with the Venom symbiote and all those symbiotes, what they call them in the movie and what point. Even though it's supposed to say symbiote instead of symbiote, but whatever, it's both ways, whatever. But I still prefer symbiote. But as I was saying, the movie starts off with the rocket crash landing into Earth, and when I mean crash landing, I mean literally crash landing, not like a crash landing where it's a perfect, you know, landing, but like a literal crash landing. Like the rocket is destroyed, the symbiotes are around free. Well, only one, which is the right symbiote, which keeps on switching from host to host in the movie, during the movie. And then we cut back to Eddie, and his well, in the comics she says she is his ex-wife in the comics, but with his girlfriend Anne Wang. Well, yeah, Anne Wang. He's in his apartment with her, and then he goes back to work, which is of course like in the comics, a news reporter. Well, not like in the comics, because in the comics he's like a photographer or like an editor or something like that. In the comics, I don't remember. I'm sorry. But yeah, Eddie goes to work. He goes to his editor about interviewing Carlton Drake and the Life Foundation. And of course, he makes the big mistake of, you know, asking Carlton Drake about the tests that he does on homeless people out in the streets, and this gets him fired. He breaks up with his girlfriend and all that stuff. And not just that, it gets even worse from there for Eddie. He gets bankrupt, or he's literally broke, and so then he decides to go to the market to get some food and all that good stuff. And then he comes across a scientist from the Life Foundation. I don't remember her name from the movie, but once I watch it, I'll probably remember her name. But so then, like in the trailers, she asks him for help. You know, she will offer him to get his life back. You know, his career, his relationship, and all that stuff. And so then they venture off into the Life Foundation, and pretty much they come across some guards, and so Eddie hides in the operating room, which is where they put the symbiote. Where the symbiote bonds with the homeless person, whoever it is. And then Eddie comes across a homeless person that that he's friends with, but she has been possessed by the Venom. Excuse me, she's possessed by the Venom symbiote, which forces her to literally attack Eddie, like in the trailers, and the symbiote goes from Eddie's friend to Eddie himself, and then Eddie, like in the trailers, is getting chased. This is where my tongue stops working, but he gets chased by the Life Foundation, and luckily he escapes. He goes into his apartment, and pretty much like in the comics, he starts literally getting a hunger for food, and so then he starts eating random stuff in his house, including freaking trash, which is, well, it's not out of character since Venom is kind of a goofball in the comics if you're a comic nerd. And so then this all leads to him going to the restaurant where his girlfriend is, well, his ex-girlfriend is with their new date, and then this is the weirdest part of the movie. Because of his hunger, he goes into a tank full of lobsters. No kidding, watch the movie. It happens. He goes into a tank. It has lobsters in it. But oh well, let's just not focus on that. So then he does that. Then the guy that's dating, his ex girlfriend, he's a doctor. He decides to um ex- examine him so that he can check if he's all right because of Eddie's extreme hunger, and pretty much Eddie goes back to his apartment. He comes across some Life Foundation security guards and who want Carlton Drake's property back, and so then Venom emerges and attacks the guards, and then all that chase scene from the trailers that we saw, and then Venom's big reveal, which pretty much gave me goosebumps in during that scene, because like literally Venom looks awesome. Better than Topher Grace, of course, because literally Venom is supposed to be big and bulky and like not too much like Hulk's size, but like over here, wow, Topher Grace's interpretation is like my size. I still believe I can take him on. I'm just kidding. So he just meets up. He gets to know Venom for a little while in the movie, and pretty much the rest is just Venom and Eddie, talking about their lifestyle, and how Venom and Venom keeps, and also Venom pretty much does mention about his planet and all that stuff, which is pretty good, since they're gonna make a Venom trilogy, if I may say, which is gonna be pretty awesome. And so then this all leads to Eddie gets pretty much after that scene, Eddie gets that examination, and pretty much the Venom symbiote goes crazy until the Venom symbiote literally detaches from Eddie, and Eddie has to get away from the symbiote in the hospital. He tries to exit out of the hospital. The security guards catch up to him and pretty much capture him without noticing that he doesn't have the symbiote with him. Luckily, and Wang literally bonds with the symbiote and pretty much becomes She-Venom for a little bit in the movie, which is pretty cool in my opinion. And so then they meet up again. Venom bonds with Eddie again, and then finally the big climax of the movie, which I mean a pretty big climax and pretty much an awesome climax in my opinion. It all leads to Venom versus Riot, which is a pretty cool, awesome fight scene, in my opinion. And pretty much there's a lot of fighting between them, and also in the end, Venom, Eddie gets almost dies until Venom finally bonds with him, because during that scene, Riot kind of detaches Venom from Eddie until Venom finally attaches back to Eddie, and pretty much Eddie and Venom finally end up killing Riot in a pretty gruesome scene where not too gruesome, but like a little bit, like they just light up the rocket on fire while Riot burns to death, and also alongside Riot, Carlton Drake also dies. And Venom and Eddie on the other hand manage to survive, and And the ending scene is pretty much the turn in the wind scene, which again it's not too out of character for Venom to be goofball, but still. And one of the most interesting things in the movie is the post credit scene where Eddie ventures off to the interview that he talked to Anne about, and pretty much the one person that he's going to interview is none other than Cletus Cassidy, which I'm pretty sure is gonna set up the sequel with Carnage in it, probably, if not for the third movie, because trilogy and all that stuff. And so there you have all that happens in the Venom movie. So what do I think of the movie? I think it's awesome, like I said. I would give it like a 85% on Rotten Tomatoes if I was a critic, but that's just me. So, leave it in the comments below what you think of the Venom movie, because I thought it was pretty cool. My friends also thought it was pretty cool, and they're pretty much excited for the next Venom movie. And I'm also excited for the new Venom movies that's to come. And pretty much the next project is next Sony Marvel Universe project is the Morbius movie, which I kind of have mixed feelings about it, but which is supposed to have Jared Leto as Morbius, and I kind of have it. The movie overall, the Morbius project overall is pretty much a mixed bag in my opinion. People there's people that might like it, there's people that might hate it, but I kind of mixed up between those reactions, because I'm not gonna say that I hate the movie. I'm not saying that it's not necessary. Well, it isn't. Well, it's not necessary in my opinion, because literally Venom is the only character that Sony can give a solo movie to. The other villains are not as interesting without Spider-Man. Only Venom can be as interesting as Spider-Man. Because Venom hasn't been a villain, a Spider-Man villain, ever since, like, I don't know, decades ago. Like, 2 decades ago, something like that. But yeah, he hasn't been a Spider-Man villain in a long time, because every time that he's encountered Spider-Man, he usually works together with him. Sure, he does have arguments with him, but overall, he works together with him. And so, I'm getting a little bit off topic of the movie. So, yeah, I think it's a good movie. You guys should totally watch it. It's on Blu-ray, DVD right now because of its huge success on the box office. And you guys should totally check it out. So, technically this is the end of the video, but on other news, I'm planning, well, if I have time to do it, but I'm also planning to do a review of the rest of the Spider-Man movies, not including Homecoming, because I already did a review of Spider-Man Homecoming, which you guys should totally check it out. And so I'm gonna be reviewing all 5 remaining Spider-Man movies. I'm gonna be reviewing Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, The Amazing Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And it's all gonna start on Thursday, which is a little topic that I'm in. Well, it's not a little bit of a topic. This is where my tongue stops working. But it's not a bit of a topic. It's more of a little tradition that I'm gonna do in this channel, which is gonna be Throwback Thursdays. So I hope you guys get ready for that. First review of the first Spider-Man movie. The Sam Raimi trilogy. The Amazing Spider-Man movies are better. But yeah, that's the end of the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. Web up that like button, and I'll see you later, webheads.